Thank you so much. My name is Marie Goh from the CropLife Asia, representing from the Singapore office. So today I'll be sharing on the countering the illicit trade of the pesticide. I'll be sharing the global best practices on the industry initiative collaboration, what is the partnership and enforcement initiated by our regional from the global, including our national association, and the risk that's being posed. So the content of my presentation. Hold on first, please allow me to have a laser pointer. So just to allow that this presentation, it will be just for the information and education purpose only. And I'll be bringing over first to you to introducing who we are, and then we will follow by the illicit trade of the pesticide. And then there will be a few sharing session talking about the global best practices and enforcement. And I'll also be touching a little bit the initiative about what we do in the illicit trade of the pesticide on the e-commerce platform. So first of all, we deliver in the 94 country where you can see there's a total of the 6 regional association and our headquarters, CropLife International, based in Brussels in Belgium. Whereas for the CropLife Asia, we have 6 members company and 15 national association where we support across the Asia region on the sustainable and the food supply through the plant science and also the biotech. So I will be focusing, I'm not going to bring you through the definition of the illicit trade of the pesticide because the speakers from the Laos as well as the Mr. Lawrence from Kenya, I believe that have bring you to the definition. So what I want to bring you to is that what the initiative, when you look at this, the global chart, the counterfeit and illicit trade pesticide is not just happening across the Asia itself, such as we have the report coming from the FICRI from the India itself. We have the illegal pesticide constitutes of approximately 25% of the value, total domestic market share on the agrochemicals. But you also can see there's other report coming from the European Union about the 14% on the European markets. We have globally coming from the OECD as a report, and same go for the Africa and Latin America, where you can see the concern all over the world. So this risk of the what we call the illicit or non-resistant pesticide, of course, is pose a very high risk and the impact, which is very critical. I'm not going to the detail, but you have seen the first and the second presentation mention about the unknown toxicity coming from this, the untested active ingredient, causing the hazards to the human health, how is the contamination to the environment, such as the soil and water pollution, biodiversity, including the non-targeted species, and of course also the residues. But that's also triggered these other critical challenge, example, to the farmers where have economy losses on the crop failures where it's a harvested product, and also it's create the unfair competitions to the legitimate manufacturers where the governments will lose the taxes when the illegal counterfeiters or the illegal sellers that is not paying the tax from this unfair competition. And of course, most important is that we also having a trigger difficulty when the public will start to losing the confidence, through the product, and also trigger the food security threats actually to the national supply of the country and also the regulatory possessions. So what do we see, as any difference between the crop protections product, which is protect our crop, helping the farmers from the pests and diseases, whereas, we have the product from the drugs and the medicines from the pharmaceutical industry. As you can see from the regulatory, we are controlled very strictly by the regulators where we undergoing the pre-market authorization, sellers requirement to ensure it must be required with the licensed dealer to be sales, the end user control such as by the authority. You have including the safety communication with the labeling the information, follow the national authority requirement, including the FAO, WHO classification, and also you have the supply chain control. For example, for the crop protection industry, where we have a plant science, we do promote the life cycle stewardship, and same go for the pharmaceuticals. So these areas of the regulatory framework that I'm going to share with you. So what do the initiative by the CropLife when we're coming to the global as well as in the region, the best practices that we're tackling is illicit trade. So one of the examples that we have from our CropLife International, we collaborate together with the European Union's Europol and also Interpol, where you can see the Silver X, the program, the operation, have been starting since the 2012, and over this number of the years, there have been the seizures that's going for the total of 6,961 tons of illegal pesticide. That's the whole years of the operation. So the other partnerships and the contribution coming from our global, including we contribute the documentations with the collaboration together with the UNICRI and also with the Trusted, working together with the EU ASEAN Business Council. This is a different publication, the document, where it's specifically to mention about the illicit trade of the pesticide, and especially for the UNICRI, it's not just talking about the food security, but how illicit trade trigger the organized crime and food supply integrity. The others related matter, we have also to mention what we do, not just as a collaboration with the enforcement, but we do have the education by our colleagues in a different region. For example, we have publication from our Australia colleague um, on the educations on illicit trade of the agrochemicals. We have coming also from the example from our CropLife India, where they're running educations on these what we call the mobile to play the video to educate the farmers. You have the publication from one of our SPMF country, Thailand, and also the translation of the material into local languages. This is what you call the no three key questions when you are selling, where you educate the farmers. So the other collaboration or the support that we have, these have also including what we have support with the national authority to done various of the national, like control the border is a program by the China team. We have the Indonesia's team as also one of the SPMF country, and then the national authority come up with the publications of the material to educate the public on this illegal. And then we also have the some of the photos sharing with you where the national authority, for example, from Bangladesh, do all the seizures and the program as an intelligent information. So the next I'll be just a little bit also to cover that CropLife itself. We do not just to advocate illicit trade of pesticide, what we call the control of the physical store of this illegal pesticide. We do also collaborate and take our long initiative on the online platform. So again, you look at this, I do not need to go through, but you do not know that sometimes you see from all this the platform, where do they claim, where it's not properly labeled, and this one, when they put it is into the wild, proper label is compared to what is being approved by the national authority, is have the, what we call the national language and everything, which trigger, all pose all the risk to the consumers as well as the user. So we have the collaborations as coming from our global, for example, the Trusted as well. Again, that for the years back, we have been also the publication and another material, what we call tackling sale of illicit pesticide on the e-commerce platform. And also one of the very good example, you can see even the FPA from EPA from the United States, they also coming what we call the pesticide in the e-commerce on the fake sheet. So the other, I believe that some of you might have already have this material, which already pre-shared during the documentation. This CropLife itself, we are a mandatory adherence to the international code conduct. So this is one of the guidance notes on the online sales of pesticide. We encourage you to overseas to refer to this documentation, because on this key recommendation where we have been working in, we have the expert to providing as under the GMPM to mention about what the national authority can be done, to updating the law related to ensuring information accurate, what is the reporting system, example, by the e-commerce platform, any trainings, and including the regulatory agency. So this is a whole overall the package. I mean that what you can see from this FAO guideline, the document mentioning from the registration, licensing, packaging and labeling, transportation safety in it, international treaties, and also addressing on the online channel of the specifics.
20 seconds, Mari.
Yeah, so this is other enforcement information that you can see leading from the authority. And we do also stress and emphasize on the platform have to share the responsible where you have the seller identity listing program. And some of them, the e-commerce from where we are collaborating with, they do also using the AI and smart monitoring. There will be a response protocol like takedown notice and also the geofencing and of course the collaboration where the e-commerce platform work with the regulators to support, the investigation. And the other, just to share with you that under the initiative by our colleagues, we also have the observing some of the latest development from the China, where the MARA have a latest law to putting on the e-commerce regulations. Another is on the Vietnam's as part of the e-commerce law, which is take effectively and is over the years of the publication. So my final take of this, my sharing the session of the today, I would like to call for the action same with all the speakers of today, how we can tackling and reduce the illicit of the pesticide, including the regulators and the support, the manufacturers with what you have mentioned, know your customer program, and distributor to ensure the source compliant product, know your supplier, law enforcement by the authority, as well as from the farmers to ensure education to use legitimate and also the registered pesticide. And of course, do emphasize again that through our advocacy working on the platform, we always to emphasize on the three key messages from the transit. There's ensure sellers have license to sell in the country for use, store the license must be have a verification by the regulators, and also the most importantly that must ensure that all these platform must be ensured that there's only the registered pesticide are available for online sales. With that, thank you, my sharing session.
Thank you so much, Maureen. There's a lot of information in your presentation, and you'll probably have some questions in the Q&A that you'll be able to answer as well. Just while we're moving to our next speaker from the private sector, which is Liliana Downs, the Head of Corporate Security Intelligence at the Syngenta Group, for a perspective from a company perspective. I just have a quick question, and Liliana, feel free to share your presentation while I just ask Maria a question. And I saw some great sort of farmer-based training with screens there, and I was interested in what have you found in your sort of training on the farm or at farm level with farmers? What's been the most useful interventions you found with farmers directly in educating them around illegal and illicit pesticides?
Thanks, Alison. I think what we have been found sometimes that the farmers are being found that there's no difference between the registered and the illegal product. So where we have our education to reach out to the farmers, including we have a collaboration. For example, we work in the region through the ASEAN member state the program on this the enforcement, but at the same time, our regional or maybe the local colleagues from the National Association, they will collaborate with the national authority to educate the farmers on to differentiate the differences on this what you call the registered and unregistered product. And there's also to show some authority there is some product that being tested as a proof to the farmer to build up the confidence why there's a difference, that's between the registered and illegal product, where you expand the farmer and including the farmer's behavior, like to ensure that it's using the registered product.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. Thanks,
Yeah.
Murray. Thank you so much. I'm just going to move quickly to Liliana now. Liliana, thanks for sharing your screen. If you want to start, it'd be fantastic to hear from you, particularly on this topic around AI and intelligence sharing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you, Alison. Hi all, I'm really pleased to be here. My name is Liliana. I am heading the intelligence team at Syngenta Group. I've been with the company for about 6 years now. My background is mainly in organized crime, so the agricultural industry was sort of new to me. But I'm really enjoying learning more and more and attending webinars and seeing the industry in itself and how we can collaborate a bit more closely. I think it's really good to see. So on today's webinar, basically I'm going to be sharing some of what we do at Syngenta Group and at the Corporate Security Department, and how we tackle basically the illegal pesticide sales. Um, in our team at Corporate Security, it's mainly focusing on traditional corporate security measures, but we have a so-called anti-illicit trade program. So we basically split the programs, and then even within the programs, we're sort of split into online and offline. So my team is responsible for the online detection, which is where we sort of incorporate the AI element to it. And then we have investigators on the ground, and we collaborate with them and also law enforcement to sort of end the investigations in seizures and raids. Some of those were the pictures that were all shared from the previous speakers, and some of Mary's, for example, presentations on the Europol Zero X operations. We work closely with them as well and share intelligence where we can. Um, I guess for me, the context around illegal pesticides and how that has evolved over the past few years or decade even, I would probably say that I think it's really moved from a traditional sales on the ground into more a complex digital global threat. So what we have observed, particularly after the pandemic, we have seen that a lot of the sales have gone online. So we are observing a lot of e-commerce platforms and social media even now, where we are seeing Syngenta products advertised, and not only Syngenta but competitor products as well as chemicals and active ingredients. So particularly for countries where we are seeing regulations pushed in and sort of stopping the sale of agrochemicals online, we're seeing a shift from e-commerce into social media. And now we are seeing some countries tackling the social media issue and banning them. But it's sort of good in a way, but also I think it's creating the problem of losing visibility on where the products are advertised because they can move into closed groups. And we have seen that in a few countries recently. The other issue that we are seeing is it's a multilingual operation, so the sellers are advertising products in various different languages, which makes it harder for us to track and monitor and enforce. And the last piece that we have sort of issues with is the fragmented intelligence. So different stakeholders would hold on to different intelligence, and that particularly applies to major companies, I suppose, where we have teams on the ground, we have teams on a global scale, and we work with law enforcement and we work with certain regulatory bodies, and we might not have the bigger picture and understand what kind of information we have. So the problem with the illegal pesticides on a digital scale is that the scale of it and also the complexity of it has now really exceeded the traditional enforcement capabilities. So what we do at Syngenta is basically, like Alison's mentioned, we try to tackle this problem with technology and incorporating AI. Um, we have we have been on the lookout for technology to monitor the online space. What we struggled with was we had technologies that focused on either the online part, or we had providers who could support us with the offline part, but we never really had an option where we could incorporate the two. So we come up with our own solutions. So we have our own technology in-house that we have built, and it's basically technology looking at the online space, and then we monitor the online space, and that goes for both e-commerce and social media. We also have now, I think, over the past, I'd say 2 years, we have observed a lot of brand protection programs on e-commerce. So we're seeing a shift as well with the e-commerce being a bit more open and willing to support brand owners as well with the protection. So our own technology is using AI. So the way it works is we monitor the online space, and we monitor keywords basically of our targets. So whether those are keywords or product names or active ingredients, and they are specific to region and country. So it's flexible for us, so we can monitor where we see there is an issue. We can adjust the system, we can adjust the technology. And the part where we use AI is mainly with the scale of it. So we are able to um, monitor more and also help us prioritize our work. So we have like a risk scoring that we implement into our technology. So the way it works is we assign certain scores to certain keywords and images. So if we know that there is a product or an active ingredient causing an issue in a certain country, we can adjust the risk scoring accordingly, and that would allow the intelligence team to see the highest priority products basically on top of the queue. So it's still sort of a manual element because so the intelligence team is still monitoring the online space and seeing where the products might be advertised. So that part is still manual, and it's still the subject matter expertise of the intelligence team to find where the products might be advertised. What AI helps us with and the technology helps us with is more the scale of it. So we can really monitor and then have that in the background to see what the results are, see if we have any issues in particular countries, see what's being advertised online. And then with the risk scoring, we're able to prioritize our work and then focus on the products that matter the most to the business or the country on a country level. What we then do is we basically try to build a bigger picture. So we have a case management system. We had a previous one as well. So we have data going back about 6 years now. So what we try to do is really map the networks and identify any patterns for countries and regions in products. So we really want to stop the products at source. So we're not really interested in small cases. I mean, we are monitoring, and we also have a team dedicated to look at the takedowns and identifying, if there's any regulatory issue, then we tackle that. But what we're really seeing is, like Mary shared on her slide, we are seeing active ingredients or just the chemicals being advertised online. And then we work with providers as well externally to see where those products might be exported to and who's the one importing that. And then using the intelligence that we have going back years, we can really see if those entities we've had issues with, or we had any investigations involving those individuals or companies or entities. So we really just want to see basically the network and where the bigger picture is for the